Hello, and welcome to the webinar, Adult Children of Divorce and the Holidays. I'm Tanya Lyons. I'm an adult child of divorce, and I've spent the last decade of my life researching particularly my experience as an adult child of divorce, but also the experience of other adult children of divorce, and how our experience growing up with divorced or separated parents, splitting our time perhaps between two homes and two families, and all the things that we've learned and experienced as children are still impacting us now as adults. So, in this webinar, we're going to talk about some of the things that make the holidays particularly stressful, emotional, difficult, or challenging for us. And we're going to talk about our expectations for the holidays for ourselves and other people. We're going to talk about what energizes us and what drains us around the holidays, and hopefully come up with some action steps or some ways that we can make the holidays enjoyable um, and wonderful for us, regardless of what's going on with our family. My parents broke up in November, just after I turned 10. And so, of course, my very first Christmas with divorced parents or split up parents was incredibly challenging. And then a year later, at Christmas time, my mom got remarried. So it's really set a precedent for me that my parents' breakup really had radically changed my life as a child. I think those of you who are listening to this webinar will have your own story of how your parents' breakup has impacted your holidays as a child, and how those dynamics and those relational and family situations are still impacting you, whether or not you have a lot of impact, or sorry, whether or not you have a lot of interaction with your parents now. The things that you learned as a kid carry with you. So it's not that we, as children of divorce, are the only ones who struggle with the holidays. I think almost everyone you talk to is going to have some additional stress and tension, relational challenges, financial challenges, etc., as they approach the holidays. And there's lots of reasons why that can happen. But the point of this webinar is not to compare our pain with other people or, who's got it worse than somebody else, but simply to identify and understand some of the things that are contributing to our stress so that we can respond with self care and compassion. And hopefully, if we're able to do this, if we're able to understand why this is such a painful, difficult time for us, then we can make some changes, some adjustments, and then we can also offer kindness and compassion, empathy to others, regardless of what their situation is like. So I've created a workbook that goes along with this workshop. So if you have that, you could print it out and work along with it as we go. Or you could just be taking notes and doing the exercises on a journal or a notebook on your phone or wherever. And then you can refer to the workbook later on if there's something you want to go back to go into in more depth or more detail. So if you don't already have something to capture your thoughts and ideas, you can just pause this video now, grab something, and come back to it. All right, so in the webinar, we're going to look at 4 different sections. We're going to start by looking at some of the reasons why the holidays are particularly challenging for us as adult children of divorce or separated parents. We're going to have a chance to reflect on some of the sadness and grief and loss that we carry and how that is still impacting us today. Thirdly, we're going to think about the expectations that we have on ourselves, on our parents, on the people who are important to us, and how that might be setting us up for a difficult holiday, or perhaps could be setting us up for a positive holiday season. And the fourth thing we're going to do is we're going to explore the events, people, interactions that energize us around the holidays and the things that drain us around the holidays so that we can have a big picture of what's going on in our life at this time of year, and then possibly make some adjustments. Okay, so before we get started though, let me just point out that your age and stage in life will, of course, impact the way that you approach the holidays and your parents and your story. So, just to say, for example, if you're in your 20s, maybe you're still living at home, you're single, you have a lot of interaction with your parents, you'll have a different set of challenges and opportunities than somebody, let's say you're in your 40s. Let's say You're married, you have kids of your own. Maybe you live far away from your parents. Maybe one of your parents has even passed away. So each of us have different dynamics, different um, like physical situation with our parents, but also based on our stage in life, we'll have different emotional interactions with them and different responses. So just keeping that in mind. Not everything that we talk about is going to apply to you directly, but I'm trusting that there will be parts of this webinar that really can help you to go a little bit deeper, understand, have more clarity, then move forward with more hope and purpose. All right. So let me share. I'm going to share my screen and look at the first page of the handout that I've created for you. So the handout is reflecting on the holidays as an adult child of divorce. And in the first section, we're going to look at some of the reasons why the holidays are particularly challenging for adult children of divorce. And as I go through the list, just invite you to think about which ones of these you can resonate with, which ones are really kind of hitting the nail on the head for you. Maybe where do you find yourself feeling emotional, or, ooh, that actually really describes how I'm feeling, or nope, that's not mine at all. Of course, there may be more things on the list that I haven't listed, or more things that are impacting you. So I just invite you to think about them and maybe take note of them. And I think too, for me, looking at the reasons why the holidays can be so stressful, think gives me more compassion for myself, knowing that these challenges began in my life when I was a little girl of 10 years old, and that I've been carrying many or all of these challenges with me throughout my childhood, my teen years, and now into my adult life. And the things that I learned, the patterns that I learned, the ways of relating and thinking and interacting, of seeing the world, those have shaped me over many, many years, over decades, actually. And so before I can change or adapt or adjust the way that I interact with myself, with the holidays, with my parents, I need to become aware of what actually is the script that I'm believing. What are the habits or patterns that I've gotten into? So I hope as you think about your childhood, you're able to walk away with more compassion for yourself, and instead of perhaps being angry with yourself that you haven't gotten over it yet, or it's you're making a big deal out of something, that actually you can have this understanding that it actually is a big deal, what you've had to carry, what you've had to deal with, what you've had to learn to live with and respond to. I think so. The first thing I've listed here about why the holidays can be challenging is that it simply reminds us of what we had and then lost, or what we never had, or what we're hoping for and don't have yet. So it can stir up huge amounts of loss, sadness, pain, grief, anger, and so on. And in the same way that after the death of a loved one, time passes and some of that intensity fades, you still do carry with you your grief and your sadness over that loss, over that person that you love and care for, who's no longer involved in your life and is not there. And so, even though the memories of our parents' breakup may be far in the past, and we may have moved on in many ways and adjusted to the reality of the way things are, it's still normal and okay to feel at times um, that sadness and the grief that your parents aren't together anymore, that they don't love each other, that the um, maybe the positive memories you had for a certain part of your childhood are no longer a reality. Yeah, you may simply, in the holidays, be sad that you can't be in one room with all the people that you love at the same time. And this is a reality for us. Okay, the second thing is just simply the stress of having two parents, two families, and the way that adds complexity to your life. So, around the holidays, this includes travel, going back and forth, whether that's in the same city, in a different part of the country, flying, taking the train, driving. It requires time and energy um, and money to go back and forth. Okay, you have the burden of finances. So that might be buying gifts related to travel, taking time off work, and so on. There's the relational tension, um, of splitting your time between two parents and knowing that you have to sort of negotiate with them. Well, if I go here on this day, then I can come to you for that day, and maybe we can do this together. And so just trying to keep both sides happy. And then also this idea that you're carrying the weight of your parents' emotions, perhaps trying to keep them happy, keep them satisfied, let it be a fair division of your time, and so on. Okay, so there's a lot of additional complexity. And then you have the reality of the strained relationships with family members. So this doesn't apply to everybody, but certainly your parents will have some type of strained relationship. And that can is a very big spectrum to mild to extreme, where they won't even speak to or about each other. But that is something that you are always carrying in the back of your mind. You're always aware of it and sort of trying to navigate around it, tiptoe around it. Um, then, in the reality of blended families and step families, like in any family, there are certain people who don't get along with each other. Maybe your brother's not talking to your mom, and your stepsister's not talking to your dad, and you're kind of aware of these different things, and you may be feeling like it's your responsibility to do something about that. Um, I think many of us feel pressure to make up for lost time with our parents, or they feel the pressure to make up for lost time with us. So maybe they only see us now a couple times a year as we're older, or yeah, more or less frequently. But um, and so it can make the holidays this sort of intense, supercharged time where you feel like you have to have deep conversations, meaningful interactions. Um, and you have to always be on and engaged. And that can be stressful for sure. You maybe feel like you're letting someone down no matter what you do. So this can be your parents. So if you spend time with one, then you're missing on the other. But there's also the other complexity of maybe you have to miss your stepsister's recital because you're gone to your dad's place, or maybe you have to miss your work night out because you're going to your cousins, or you can't be with your grandparents because you're opening the presents on the other family side. And there's just only so much of you to go around. And this can be really stressful and painful and disappointing to you and to other people. Again, when it comes to the holiday, the reality might be that you do not have contact with one or both of your parents for whatever reason. Um, from your side, from their side, it might be mutual. And this can just stir up that feeling of sadness, of rejection, of pain, of regret, of guilt, of wishing you could have done something differently. Or maybe simply you feel relieved that you don't have to have interaction with that parent. That also brings its own pain and sadness. There may be a feeling of jealousy. I definitely feel this from time to time, or anger or shame around the state of your relationships and your family. So you might be comparing yourself with another family, with a friend, your partners, coworkers, what you see on TV, what you read about. I just think, why can't my family be like that? Why is it always so hard? Why can't they get along with each other? Why can't they be more fun to be around? Why can't they be less dysfunctional or less difficult? Also, for myself, as I've gotten older, I have felt a growing sense of shame, perhaps, that I haven't been able to fix my family, or I haven't been able to create for myself this beautiful, wonderful family relationships as for myself as an adult, or a friendship group or community that's just so wonderful and magical. I think, what's wrong with me that I can't build those friendships or develop that kind of community? And it can be a painful thing to think about, like, what am I doing wrong? Another thing that makes the holidays stressful for us is that we simply have less time for yourself, your interests, your own family, you have a family, and your own friends. So, because you're splitting your time, you've sort of got to do double duty with each parent. You have less time for yourself. And so for many of us, that means the holidays are even more intense, less relaxing. There's no opportunity to sit around in your PJs and watch TV or do puzzles because you're getting up and traveling and going here and always trying to keep the other people happy. Mm. So that can mean you end up at the end of the holidays more exhausted than you were when it started. And the final thing I have on the list is that the holidays can be tender or difficult because they might be stirring up fears that you have or questions you have about your future and your family. So, regardless of whether you're married, single, have kids, don't have kids, the holidays are a time when you start to wonder, will I ever have the perfect life or the life that I dream of, the life that I want of connection and love and family and belonging and home? If you don't have it, you might be wondering when. When will I ever have it? How do I get there? How can I change things? What can make it better? If you do have it to some degree, you might be afraid and wondering, is it all going to fall apart? Just like it fell apart for my parents and my family. So it can stir up these insecurities and fears and questions that you have. So I wonder what you might add to this list. Are there other things that you can think of that particularly make the holidays difficult or stressful for you? So they're worth thinking about and might be interesting for you to either make note of them on the workbook, write them down somewhere, and just have a chance to chew on them a little bit and be thinking, how are these extra stresses taking their toll on me? How are they impacting the way that I'm feeling about the holidays, how I'm acting and reacting, how I'm spending my time and my energy? Because I think um, the reality about all these stresses is that they are slowly, a little bit here, a little bit there, draining us, like I say, of the energy that we want to be spending on other things, whether that's on our family and our friends, people who are close to us, whether that's on our, say, our spiritual life and reflection and gratitude and the opportunity to think about what we've been given and how we want to give back to other people. Maybe it's taking a toll on our health or on our sleeping or on our finances. And we're not able to then really offer ourselves and enjoy what the holidays would bring to us because our energy is slowly seeping away and being given to other things. Okay, so the second part of the webinar is taking an opportunity to then reflect on mm, the emotions, the weight, the drain that I've been referring to of all these different challenges. And as I mentioned, like these dynamics of our family, of the way that we've learned to relate, the way that we've learned to live and interact with people, they are running all the time, sort of below the surface. And I think as much as I don't like the holidays and all the things that they stir up, the sadness, the anger, frustration, fears, questions, I do see that as an opportunity for me to pause and reflect and think what's actually going on below the surface and how can I respond to what I'm feeling now that I'm becoming aware of it. So, whenever I find myself getting stirred up, frustrated, triggered, excuse me, I do think it is an opportunity. And perhaps if we can see that as an opportunity to learn and grow and see something new about ourselves, then it does open a door for us to move forward into something different. So, um, I have a suggested activity here for you that you can either pause the video once I explain it and take some time to do the activity, or you could come back to it later. So it really depends on how much energy you have right now and what works best for you. But what I've written here is that a way to prepare yourself for the challenges of the holidays is to take stock of how you're feeling and thinking in this moment. So we're carrying a lifetime of experiences and ideas and interactions and memories with us. And they're hidden below the surface. They can leap out when we have the smallest trigger. And perhaps you've experienced that. I definitely have, where I have a meltdown, I have a blowout, I have some angry exchange over the holidays with somebody, usually who doesn't deserve any of it. um, because I haven't been able to process and sort of let the valve off, the pressure valve. So I'm carrying around all this anger and frustration. And I saw a really fantastic illustration of this on Instagram recently, where a psychologist was, she had a balloon blown up with air in a fish tank. And she was talking about the balloon representing the stresses, the trauma, the frustration, the pain, and so on that we're carrying. And the fish tank full of water, it represents our daily life. And as we try to push the balloon underwater, it takes quite a bit of effort to keep it there, to keep it hidden, to keep it the surface smooth and everything looking normal. But we cannot keep that pressure hidden, that balloon hidden under the water forever. At some point, and it doesn't even take a lot, it will pop out and emerge and splash the water everywhere. Um, and so, a better thing to do, she then goes on to illustrate, is to release the air out of the balloon, um, so that it doesn't take so much effort for us to keep our frustrations and our pains hidden. So, what I'm suggesting for this activity is that you take some time to write a letter or a poem, expressing your thoughts, your memories, your feelings about the holidays. Now, you don't have to share this letter or this poem with anybody. Um, it's simply for you, as an opportunity for you to think about how you're feeling, what's going on inside of you right now. You could address this letter to one or both of your parents. You could write a letter to God. You could write a letter to a younger version of yourself. So 14-year-old Tanya, or 8-year-old Sarah, or 9-year-old James, whatever would be helpful to you. Or you could write a letter to yourself, the older version of yourself. So to the 40-year-old Margaret, or the 25-year-old Monica, or the 50-year-old Tanya, describing maybe the growth that you want or the frustrations that you're having. Or you could write to anybody else who you think might be helpful, somebody who can listen to you, um, show compassion and understanding to you. And my encouragement is, don't be afraid to write about the hard stuff, about the pain, the sadness, your confusion, your disappointment, your fears, even your hopes. What do you wish things could be? How could they be different for you? Um, you don't have to edit yourself. Like I said, this isn't going to be shown to anybody. This is simply like a dumping ground for you to just get your thoughts and feelings out there. All right, so you could begin your letter, or if you want to do a poem, of course, you do that slightly differently. Dear so and so, when I think about the holidays, this is what comes to mind. This is how I'm feeling. And again, the thing about feelings is they're neither good nor bad. They simply are. They're trying to communicate something to us. They're trying to communicate, give us some information about our experiences, our world, our inner world, our relationships, and what's going on. So they can be really helpful to pay attention to what they are, but recognizing that you are not your feelings. It's not that you are angry, you feel anger. It's not that you are bitter, but you may feel bitterness or jealousy and whatnot. Um, so I found that helpful to sort of have a bit of distance between myself and my feelings. They're real and they're helping me understand something, but they aren't the only or the last word about who I am and what how I'm experiencing the world. And so again, to just say, feelings, it might be um, anger, that about the ways that you've been rejected or disappointed, the things that you haven't had, the abuse that you've experienced, or neglect, or being chosen, not being chosen, being rejected or overlooked. You might be angry about this sense that you need to earn your parents' love or attention or affection or approval. The feelings of pain and sadness and grief over what you lost, over the things that you were disappointed about, the way that your parents haven't been there for you, perhaps, or haven't understood you, or don't know who you are. Those things, as well as fear, I think is a common thing that I find when I start exploring my relationship with my parents. Fear that if I don't keep them happy, if I don't do what they want, that they will reject me again, that there will be greater distance between us, or that somehow they will punish me or do something difficult to me. So, in some ways, it's a very childish response. And I have to remind myself that my parents don't have that same power over me as an adult that they had over me when I was a child. But nevertheless, those feelings are there and they're worth paying attention to. Okay, so if you want to pause the video here and work on that letter, you're very welcome to do that. If you want to take a short pause here and just write down a few things that have come to mind as you think about the holidays, if there's a few emotions that are being stirred up, or memories, or things that you want to process a little bit more deeply, you could just jot those down. And then once the webinar's over, you could go back and write your letter or write your poem. So it's really up to you. Okay, so we're going to move on to the third section of the webinar now, which is exploring your expectations about the holidays. All right, so I think expectations are part of what make the holidays difficult for everybody, regardless of their family background and situation. I think there is this sort of supercharged expectation that the holidays have to be magical and memorable and meaningful and extravagant and beautiful. I think there's a real pressure to make every moment count. Every meal needs to be delicious. Every room in the house needs to be decorated. Every time you leave the house, you need to look great and look sparkly and wonderful. And all the gifts need to be perfectly chosen and wrapped and presented. And every time you interact with somebody, you have to be joyful and grateful and happy and full of festive cheer and all that. And it's just not realistic for any of us to live in that degree of intensity. Um, and I think, particularly as we remember that the holidays don't happen apart from real life, they are actually added on to normal life. So, all of the things that we're dealing with on a daily basis, our work, our career, our studies, our family, our friendships, our health issues, our financial challenges, those are already happening. And the holidays just come in on top of that and add an extra layer of complexity. So, the thing about expectations as well is that they're not all realistic, they're not all communicated or agreed upon. Um, and they're not always in sync with one another. So I may have expectations on you that you're not aware of or that you're unable to meet. You may have expectations on me, again, that I'm totally clueless about and that I have no interest in living up to. And this is where so much tension arises in relationships, any type of relationship, as our expectations are unmet, uncommunicated, and just kind of go head to head with one another. And so I found it really helpful, and so the next exercise is going to be an opportunity for you to reflect on the expectations that you have, and to become aware of them. Um, so I've put four categories here. So when I think about the holidays, the expectations that I have on parent one, so just label them that way, um, on parent two, on myself, and on everyone else. Okay, so you can change this and personalize this based on your situation. Um, what I realized is that as an adult, I'm married now, I have very few expectations on my parents, or perhaps the role that my parents play in my holiday experience is quite small. They live in a different country from me. I don't interact with them a lot. But I've transferred my expectations, of course, to my husband. And I think about my expectations I have on my brother and on different friends, people who are part of my community, the expectations I have upon myself, actually the ones that are most relevant to me at this stage in life. But it's up for you, of course, to think about who are the important people in your life, different categories of people, maybe friends, siblings, roommates, etc., children, and then, of course, on yourself. And just spend some time. Um, you might want to pause the video here and spend just 3 or 4 minutes and start jotting down some of the expectations that you have. And I think knowing that the holidays are this unique time in the year when maybe you see people that you don't normally see, you do things that you wouldn't normally do. Like I said, there's this sort of intensity to the holidays because you're only together with someone for a few hours or a few days. And so you may have this real desire to do a certain activity together, to build a gingerbread house or to go tobogganing or to go for a walk or shopping or have a really deep conversation about XYZ. Maybe there's somebody in your life you want to introduce your parents to, or um, maybe there's a big decision you want some input into. Um, or maybe you want to just relax and kind of tune out a bit and chill out. So, if you can become aware of the things that you're looking for or hoping for from other people, um, then I think it's more likely for those expectations to be met. All right. So, yeah, maybe pause the video here, um, and take a few minutes to jot down expectations that you have. And then we're going to come back again, and we're going to look at those lists and ask a few questions about them. And also to say that it's okay to put both sort of negative and positive expectations. Like maybe you're expecting that your mom's going to criticize your career choices. Maybe you're expecting that your dad is going to spend way too much money and make you feel really uncomfortable. So those are some types of expectations. Maybe you expect that you are going to um, eat way too much, drink way too much, and then feel really terrible about it for the next 3 days. So you can kind of just imagine ahead what you think is going to happen as a way to sort of explore some of your expectations. Okay, so I hope that's been helpful. And now what I'd like you to do is we're going to take a look at those lists, and I'm going to have give you a few questions to think about, to help you process or maybe just get a bit of awareness about what your expectations are and then how to respond to them. Right. So, um, the first sort of big general question is, as you look at those lists of expectations, what have you noticed? Are there any themes or any things that surprised you or any things that you weren't expecting to notice, um, or write down as you were making the lists? For example, I noticed that um, there was a lot of themes about busyness and stress and not having enough time. Whether that was about myself, my husband, my friends, family members. And I realized that the sense that there's not enough time, sort of a rushed kind of attitude and a demeanor that I felt, which kind of made my stomach already clench up and thinking, there's just this frenzy, and how is it all going to work? And I was starting to get just nervous thinking about that. The other thing I noticed was that how often I felt like it was my responsibility to then take care of my parents, make sure that my mom knows that she's loved at Christmas, make sure my dad feels cared for, make sure my husband feels cared for, make sure my siblings feel noticed and cared for. There was a lot of like, I need to be doing this for other people, which of course is a pattern and a habit I learned as a child, which is worth me exploring and thinking, is that actually sustainable? Is that helpful? Is that my responsibility? Or have I taken on responsibilities that are not actually mine to carry? So there may be some particular things that you've noticed about yourself. Um, so that's great. You could write those down or just, yeah, find a way to highlight those and chew on them. And then a few questions I have here. So one idea would be to put a star next to the expectations that sound reasonable and possible to you. So let's say you're expecting that you're going to go shopping with your mom. Yeah, that's something that we're going to do. It's going to be nice. It's going to be fun. We're going to connect. Um, so, what are the ones that sound like they could happen, right? Or and that they're positive and reasonable? Then look at the list again and put an X next to the things that sound unreasonable or unlikely. If you would really like to have a really meaningful conversation with your brother about something that's going on in your life, but you realize that it's probably not going to happen for whatever reason, busyness, kids, mental health, whatever. And it's worth just recognizing that that's probably not going to happen. Okay, so again, we're just kind of trying to be a bit objective as we look at these things, and kind of helping ourselves navigate which of our expectations are reasonable, which are unreasonable, which are likely and realistic. And then the next step would be to look at your expectations and consider which ones may need to be adjusted. Sometimes we want something, but it's unlikely to actually happen to the degree that we want it to. But instead of throwing it out away and going, oh, fine, then I'm not going to even bother talking to my brother, maybe it's simply adjusting that expectation and think, okay, I'm probably not going to get 2 hours to talk to him, but could we go for a walk for 15 minutes and have a little chat? Is that something that's more reasonable? All right. And then the next question would be, are there expectations that you could communicate or clarify? I found this really helpful because the more information I have, the better I feel set up for success. So, for example, if you're going to see a parent and you're not actually sure what that time together is going to look like, it could be really helpful to have a conversation ahead of time to get a bit of clarity. So, for example, hey, mom, I'm coming to your place, looking forward to seeing you over Christmas. Can you just tell me a little bit about what you have planned for that weekend? Who's actually going to be there? Um, are we having any meals or activities? Are we going anywhere? Do I need to bring certain clothing? Are we going ice skating? Are we going to the opera? Are we going out for a fancy dinner? Are we going to be chopping wood? Like, what do I need to do to prepare? Um, Another thing would be, are there things that you could communicate or clarify to your parent or to your friends or to your siblings or family members? For example, saying, okay, dad, I'm really looking forward to seeing you for those 2 days over the holidays. I just want to let you know that I'm actually feeling really drained and stressed out. There's some difficult things going on at work, and I'm recovering from the flu. So actually, I'm really looking forward to sleeping in, maybe playing some games, watching a few movies. I don't have a lot of energy. And is that going to be okay with you? Do you have other things planned that I should be aware of? Is there any way that we could adjust the things that you have so that I will get the chance to do X, Y, and Z? Think also there's the opportunity to prepare ourselves for both the difficult and enjoyable experiences. So that's where the clarification comes from, and the communication is having being on the same page with your parent or your siblings, your friend, your spouse, whoever you're going to spend time with. And then being able to be proactive to make sure that you're getting your needs met or that you're feeling safe and you're feeling in a good place. For example, if you have a relative that you really find difficult to spend time with, you can either decide not to spend time with them, or you might plan, if I'm going to go visit this relative, I'm going to bring along my cousin or I'm going to bring along a friend for the sake of safety and feeling more comfortable. If you know that your family loves to just sit around and watch TV and you find that really draining or stressful, then you can take initiative to call a friend and set up a walk and go, okay, mom, I'm only going to, between 3 and 6, I'm going to go out for a walk with Alyssa and we're going to go to the Christmas market or whatever. So the thing is about once we're able to look at and reflect on our expectations, then we can figure out how to adjust them, how to communicate or clarify them, and maybe realizing there's some expectations we simply need to let go of. Yeah, and chances are you probably won't get everything that you want out of the holidays, but when you think about the things that are most important to you, then that can help you direct your energy, and hopefully have a more positive experience. All right, and so that leads us to the fourth and final um, section of the webinar, where I want us to look at the things that energize us and excite us about the holidays and the things that drain or stress us out. And the purpose for doing this is that you are the only person who truly understands the whole picture of your life. You're the only one who really knows the dynamics of each parent and their homes, of your own friendship circles or your family. You're the only one who knows what's going on fully at work or in your personal life, your emotional life. And so you're the one, the only one really, who can see the big picture and then design for yourself the holidays that can be the most meaningful and enjoyable for you. And so, one thing I've noticed about us as children of divorce is that many of us are we're really good at adapting to situations and going with the flow. We're pretty good at taking what we're given and just accepting it. So we get taken to mom's place or dad's place, or we get taken here and there, and we just kind of take it as it is. Sometimes we're not as good, even as adults now, at actually understanding and recognizing what we want and need and being proactive to pursue that or to make that happen. So, as we look at the things that drain us, the things that energize us around the holidays, part of the hope is that then we can do more of the things that energize us and limit the things that drain us. All right. So, within whatever parameters that you want to live with. Right. So, I'm going to share my screen again here. So, this is on the fourth page of the workbook. So the activity here is to spend some time when you think about the holidays, what things energize or excite you, and which things drain or stress you out. So this could be, like tangible things like having to cook the food or get on the train on time or clean my house um, or see my stepsister. These could be physical, tangible things, or it could be things that are, that you can't see, right? So the questions that my mom's going to ask me about my dating is going to drain me or stress me, or the questions I have about whether or not my sister's going to show up drunk or not, or questions I have about whether we're going to get in a fight about going to church, or so there's all kinds of things. You know your family, um, and so again, I'd invite you to just pause the video here and spend a bit of time just jotting down the first things that come to mind about what you're actually dreading or afraid about or stressed out about or not looking forward to about the holidays, and then which things you're getting excited or you're looking forward to or really yeah, you find yourself perking up about. Okay. Okay, so I hope that that was fun. And now I'm going to share my screen again because I have a few questions for you. Again, it says look at those lists and start to pay attention to what are you noticing about what you're anticipating about the holidays and what you're feeling energized, excited about, and what you're feeling drained or stressed about. So what I've suggested here is that you put a star next to the three things that you're most looking forward to. It could be three things, it could be five things, it could be um, you know um, as many as you would like, and then put an X next to the three things that are stressing you out the most. Again, three, five, four, doesn't matter. Um, and what are you noticing about these two lists? Are there any themes that you're seeing? Are there any things that surprise you? I did this activity with um, somebody else, and they said, what I noticed was that I was really getting excited about things like books and movies and food and things. But what was draining me was the relationships, the tension with parent or siblings or relatives. So that was a really interesting observation about what she was noticing. Um, I also noticed a similar thing. A lot of what I was energizing me or exciting me was things that I could do on my own that maybe I don't have time to do during the rest of the year. So that's crafting or doing a puzzle or doing some artwork, reading some books, watching some movies, doing some activities. Those I was like really perking up about and find myself, ooh, that would be so fun. Ooh, I'd like to do that. Ooh, that would be so great. And then the things that were stressing me out or draining me were a lot of things that I didn't have control over. So events with relatives where I'm not sure how long it's going to last, who it's going to be there, what's expected of me. Um, Things that were travel related, again, that I didn't know how we were going to get to places and what that was going to be like and what time we were going to get home and those types of things. Also, things that were draining to me, um, or sort of the expectations around housework and cooking and cleaning. Expectations that I had to sort of make things special for people, but I wasn't exactly sure how to do it. So these were things that were draining me. All right. And then now that you've had some awareness about what you're excited about, um, what's draining you, then the next step would be how can you respond? All right. So, what can you do to address the items that you've X, the things that seem most stressful to you? Now, that may take you back to our conversation about expectations. Do you need to adjust some things? Do you need to get more clarity? Are there things that you want to cancel or try to head off by problem solving? So, if you're stressed out, if I'm stressed out about cooking, are there meals I could cook ahead? Are there things where I could order food in? Um, could I ask somebody to bring a dish if we're having a meal together? As an example of some problem solving. Um, and then the final question here would be, how do you protect the things that you're looking forward to? Or do more things that energize you? If you realize your list of draining things is really long and there's hardly anything you're looking forward to, then it might be worth thinking about, could you add some things to your calendar? Could you block out some time for yourself doing things that you enjoy? If you know that your tendency, like me, is to always give in to what other people want to do, then maybe I need to get some things on the calendar. Maybe I need to book myself in, I don't really do massages, but book myself in to go to the movies or to go out for coffee or meet somebody and go for a walk so that I'm more likely to actually do it instead of just end up giving all of my time to the things that other people want and that end up draining me. And as the holidays progress, I'm more and more cranky, more and more tired, more and more frustrated because I'm not able to take care of myself. And I think as I'm reflecting on this, one of the dynamics I think that is unique to children of divorce, although probably lots of other people would relate to it, is that we often have grown up um, afraid to say no to things. We don't want to say no to our parents. We don't want to let them down. We don't want to disappoint them. We've learned to go with the flow and not maybe be so good at being proactive and initiating in the things that are important to us. And so, as an adult, you're watching this now, and I want to remind you that it's okay for you to say, no, I'm actually not interested in that. I'm not going to come to that event. Thank you for the invite, but I have other plans. It's okay for you to make a suggestion about something that you want. Actually, I'd really like us to go look at the Christmas lights. I'd really like us to go to the carol service at church. I would really like to watch this movie or do this activity. It's okay for you to make plans on your own. You know what? If you guys want to watch that, you can, but I'm going to go here and do this, or I'm going to go to the other room and read a book for a while. It's okay to do that. So if sitting around watching TV all day drains you, then it's okay for you to make plans to go for a walk with a friend. If the loud parties, the late night events really drain you, it's okay for you to either not go at all or to arrange for a taxi to come pick you up at a certain time and to go home. Um, if being around a certain relative is really draining or difficult for you, like I say, it's okay to limit that and say, I'm only going to come and visit you for 2 hours, or I'm going to bring along a friend with me. Because as adults, we actually have the freedom and the power to do the things that are important to us. It is not our responsibility to carry the weight of our parents' emotional lives, their relational lives, to make the holidays magical for them or for anybody else. And as an adult, it's actually our responsibility now for us to steward the life that we've been given. We have to, and it's actually important for us to build those strong connections with our friends, with our spouses, our family, with our partners, with the people who are part of our community, because those are the people who are going to sustain us as we go through our lives. So it's not selfish to say, hey, mom, hey, dad, I actually can't spend every moment of the holidays with you. I have other people in my life who are important to me. And for our own sake, it's okay for us to continue doing the things that are important to us. If you go to the gym and work out, then you can keep doing that during the holidays. If it's important for you to go to church or your place of worship, then you can still do that. If you want to go carol singing or to go skiing with your friends or have a movie marathon, you have permission to plan that and to do that. And I get it, there may be guilt or fear running in the back of your mind. If I do this, they're going to be mad at me. They're going to be disappointed. They're going to be hurt. But you are an adult now, and you have a say about how you spend your time and who you spend it with. So, yeah, if you find your family situation really stressful, it's okay to limit that. It can feel difficult, and you might feel like if I give up that little bit of family connection that I have, then what's going to happen to me? But you have managed so far. You have been okay, and you can continue to invest in the relationships that you enjoy, the people who care about you, the ones who are helping you have healthy life and healthy relationship. Okay, and there's an additional exercise I've put in the workbook for you that you might find helpful. Like I said, children of divorce, sometimes we don't actually know what we like or what we enjoy. Think on my list of energize and drain, I put much more emphasis on the things that were draining me because I felt more concrete. I haven't always been good at really nurturing or developing my own hobbies and my own interests, and even identifying the things that bring me life and energy. So, if you can relate to that, you might find this activity helpful or interesting. Um, so, the idea here is to um, just kind of take an opportunity to imagine your ideal Christmas. Okay. So, again, I'm not saying this is going to happen this year or ever, but it's a chance for you to just get to know a little bit more about the things that you are excited and energized by. So, the idea would be just put aside what's going on right now and just forget about it. Forget about your parents, your family, the stresses, whatever's going on with work or your health, um, finances, whatever. Just put that aside and just give yourself the freedom and permission to imagine your ideal Christmas. Okay, if you could do anything in the world you wanted, um, what would it look like? Where would you be? What country? What city? What room? What building? What climate? Um, what would it look like? Okay, so where would you be? Who would be there? What would you be eating and drinking? The certain foods that you enjoy or like? What activities would be involved? Would you be climbing a mountain? Would you be volunteering at a soup kitchen? Would you be building the world's biggest gingerbread house? Would you be watching movies or writing a novel? What would you do? What emotions would you be feeling? Would you be feeling peace? Would you be feeling joy and laughter? Would there be, would you be stimulated and excited, or would you be calm and peaceful, relaxed? So whatever it can be really fun. Maybe you want to sketch something out or draw something, or do this with a friend and then share your experiences with each other. But like I said, it can be helpful for us sometimes as children of divorce. We can find it difficult to actually be aware of and connected with the things that are important to us and that we enjoy. Okay, so just we're coming to the conclusion here. Um, So I hope you have found those activities helpful, that they have given some insight and shed some light on where you are right now, how you're feeling, how you're thinking about the holidays. They've given you some insight into the things that are stressing you out, maybe giving you some insight into the dynamics or the patterns that you are in with your parents and family. and then giving you some thoughts about things that you could change, things that you could take away, things that you could add, things that you could adjust, things that you could communicate that may help you to have a more enjoyable and relaxing or meaningful holiday season. So, in conclusion, and you can read this again as many times as you want, learning to deal with the holidays as a child of divorce is a lifelong journey. And it's okay if you're not where you want to be just yet. You're not going to necessarily get this Christmas perfect, or next one, or the one after. But you have the rest of your life to make small changes and adjustments and discover what you want and what's going to fit you well. So you can give yourself permission to feel how you feel, all of the feelings, the good ones, the bad ones, the negative ones, the difficult ones. There's a famous quote by Brene Brown who says, "You can't selectively numb your emotions. If you numb the difficult ones, you also end up numbing the good ones, the beautiful ones." But when you give yourself permission to feel all of the feelings, the anger, the sadness, the resentment, then it also opens the door for you to feel joy and peace and connection and so on. Um, but give yourself permission to make choices that suit you. If you need to slow down or to rest, to change your mind, to say no, you have permission to do that. And if you feel tension or frustrations that your holidays aren't what you want, that's okay. It's okay to want something, even if you don't know what it is or how things could be better. But frustration is always the door to change. And it can be a real gift to us when we can identify, hey, I don't actually like this thing, this dynamic. I would like to change it. That is a real wonderful insight. And as I've said, many of us have grown up putting the needs of others first, doing what we're told, accommodating our parents, hiding our feelings, caretaking other people, and let others make decisions for us. Often we don't know what we want, might be afraid um, that we don't have what it takes to make changes or to create what we hope for. If you relate to any of this, you're not alone. We're on this journey together. So grateful you have um, participated in this webinar today. And if you found it helpful, please recommend it to other people, other children of divorce. There are millions of us out there, but often I feel quite alone in our experience for many different reasons. And I think the more that we can talk about it and share our experiences, share what we've learned with each other, we can learn how to support one another and to move forward. Well, take care. Happy Christmas to you.